Shall we have a quiet time before we start? Let's relax our bodies and close our eyes. Bring our full attention to this moment and to this place. And let us step outside of time while we're in this room and be in the present moment. Living in the present means living life to the fullest. Let us lift our thoughts to a higher level of divine love and light. And think of this circle as a circle of light that moves upward as we reach our thoughts upward. And the masters and teachers reach their thoughts and themselves to meet us. And remember that everyone in the circle is as much a part of the contact as the one who speaks. Feel relaxed and at peace, and feel the love of the teachers and all of those from the other side of the veil who have come to be with us. Let us send them love and send the teachers love. This helps to make a better contact, but it also expresses our gratitude for their presence. So let us be grateful to our Heavenly Father for this place, in this moment, and this contact with other dimensions. Thank you, Father. There's a short bit of writing. The inspiration tonight was to call this Walk On, from the book by Christmas Humphrey. Wait no more, walk on, move forward towards your spiritual destiny. Tarry not with that might have been, our mistakes of the past. The past is past. You cannot call it back, but you can do something about today. Life is an ever onward moving current. Try to stand still, and it passes you by. Life is to be lived, and in the living you have experience. In the spiritual reality, it is not what happens to you, but what you do with the experience. Perhaps in most cases, the more profitable is to move forward, walk on. Many think they need to take an experience, think on it, worry about it, to the extreme. It is wise not to make the mistake. Excuse me, I'm reading this very badly. It is wise to note the mistake and correct them as soon as possible and walk on. Soul's growth is wasted when you spend too much time giving thought to the past mistakes, if they be such. In truth, they are only mistakes because you have labeled them as mistakes. Could you but think of all your waking hours as experience, with no label of good or bad, your life takes on a new meaning, greater understanding, with more light on your path, and a lighter load to carry. Eloah, good evening, my beloveds. It is indeed a pleasure to be with you, and there are very many who are with you here in spirit this evening. We seem to gather more from this side of the veil than you do in the physical, but we are very pleased that just one or two showed up. because it shows an interest in moving forward and moving higher in consciousness. From this side of the veil, we who work with you on the earth plane have opportunities much more than you would think. We see from a broader aspect than you do. And as you move from experience to experience, from your surface level, you see very little of life. And we would ask you to consider taking time out through the day to stop and raise your thoughts to our level, or at least imagine doing this and looking at life that is going on your planet Earth, watching yourself as you go through your day. When you can be objective a little bit and see yourself and understand more about how you are doing, and sometimes laugh at yourself with the things that you do in the way that you do it. It is all right to laugh at yourself and to take a humorous attitude towards life on this physical plane, because it is very mixed up at times, and in some of your experiences you find that you are in precarious situations. But most of you now are moving upward in consciousness to where you create a much better existence, much better experiences. As we approach this subject of continuing to move forward, let us think of life and the life current. It is continually moving forward, and especially as your new age moves into a greater current, I would have you to think on this and to realize that each day the vibratory rate on your planet is increasing, and it will soon be accelerating. When you try to hold on to the past or to stand still, life passes you by, and this is why you grow old. There's no other reason that your body should wear out. The reason is that you worry, have fear, and doubt, and all the other negatives. And these thoughts going through your mind also go through your body and has an effect on your physical body. Some of these things have come from other lifetimes, and you have chosen to do this and work these things out in this particular incarnation. But let us look at this in the overall picture and see life and the life current moving forward into this new age. Many, many things are ahead of you. Many things that, if you think that you have made a lot of progress technologically in the last 100 years, my dear ones, the next 100 years and the next few hundred years are going to be amazing to you, because life is beginning to accelerate in this new age, and it will continue to do so for the next 2,000 years or so. As you consider this, and consider your position in the new age, and consider your growth and the things that you came to work out in this incarnation, take a look. Be aware. Be aware of what you're doing with your life. be aware of your everyday duties, yes, and the things that you do to support your body. These are necessary, and these are a part of the experiences that you go through to grow in a spiritual sense. If you do not have to support the body, and if you just sit around all day and had nothing to do, or did as you pleased, life would be much different on your planet. It would be as it is, as it was in the Godhead, or the Garden of Eden, as you understand it. But you have chosen to come to these lower dimensions, to experience them, and you are having experiences. And it is not the type of experience that you have, but what you do with the experience that determines the experiences that you will have in the future. You have been told this many times, but it is difficult for you to remember it. It is difficult for you to think of this as you go through your day, as you bump up against the different experiences in your daily life. In this talk tonight, let us think of a river. The river continues to flow. The water flows on, and if it is not dammed up, it continues to flow. And it does not stop and talk to the rocks or the trees on the banks. It continues to flow. And this is the way with life. And I would have you to consider yourself as the river. I would have you to think of life flowing through you and the current that goes through you, and think of yourself flowing along with the current. Maybe you can see yourself in a boat or whatever, but see yourself moving. Understand that as life moves forward, you have the choice to move with it or to sit on the bank and watch it go by. Many do sit on the bank and watch the river of life go by. Those who are involved with so many drugs are doing just this. And this is an experience that many are choosing to have, is to step out of the current of life and sit on the bank, take the drugs, and watch life go by. They are missing the mark when they do this. It is not good, it is not bad, it is an experience. All things that happen on your plane, my dear ones, are experiences. Try to get away from judgment. Your master teacher said, "Judge not, lest ye be judged." And as you judge others, you are judged in the same way. This is difficult for you to understand, but you see, when you are concerned or emotionally disturbed about what others are doing and judge them, it is because that you have had this kind of experience in your past, or you have it in your consciousness that needs correcting. This is a difficult lesson to understand and to swallow, but it is true. There is much in this lesson tonight that we can talk about. But I would have you to get a better picture of life as we move into this new age, and to realize that the new age is dawning, and it is coming, and it is flowing, and it is here, and is going to continue to expand, is going to continue to accelerate, new experiences, greater things are going to happen, and in these experiences, you might label some of them bad, and you might label some of them good. But, my dear ones, you need not label them at all. If you can reach the point of understanding that labeling things is judging, and when you say that this is good or this is bad, then you're judging. And it is better not to say either one. Even when you say something is good, you are judging. And if you say something is good, then you have to have the opposite of bad, do you not? So, if we eliminate both the good and the bad, then we have experience. And it is not important what happens or what kind of experience you have, because, my dear ones, this is just a play on a stage. It is not real, it is illusion. It is an experience that you plan to have, and when you got here, you didn't not have to go through your plan. You could step out of the stream of life and sit on the bank and watch the river of life go by. And sometimes you do this. And I do not mean that you should be busy frantically running to and fro at all times. You should be completely relaxed and at peace. You should go about your life in a joyful and happy way, but continue to move. Eliminate the past from your thinking. It is gone. You cannot call it back. Think not of some past so-called mistakes. Eliminate guilt and self-condemnation. This is difficult to do because you've been programmed to think on these things and to feel guilty, and they pop up because they are habit patterns that have been driven into your mind, just as a nail is driven into a piece of wood. And until you pull this nail from the piece of wood, or until you eliminate this negative pattern and replace it with the truth, the eternal truth, then you are caught, and you are standing still when you are thinking of the past and past so-called mistakes, or feeling guilty about something that you did yesterday or just a moment ago. Mark your mistakes. Mark them well and correct them as soon as you can, but do not concentrate upon them. Remember that life force follows thought, and whatever you give life to, whatever you give thought to, you give life to. And when you give thought to the guilt and self-condemnation, you are holding yourself still. You are out of the stream of life, and you are going backward. This does not mean that you can do anything and get by with it, because the law is exact. You will have to account for everything that you have experienced that has gone against the grain of life. This is what you call the law of karma. And as long as you are under the law of karma, you will have to account for all of these so-called mistakes. Now, when you reach the point of consciousness, when you truly can see life as just an experience, and when you learn the law of love, then you will not be held accountable, because you will not be going against the grain of life. You will be flowing with the life force in peace and joy and love and happiness and beauty. This is possible for you in this incarnation. And I would have you to know this and to understand it and to accept it for yourself. Now you can listen to these words and you can think about them, but until you put them into practice, until you truly look at things that happen to and around you in your life as just experience and discontinue labeling them good or bad, then they mean nothing to you. This lesson means nothing to you unless you put it into practice. You are moving forward. You are growing. But I would have you to understand that the acceleration of the new age is upon us. And if you will consider speeding up your growth, it would be good. And here we are using the duality word again, aren't we? You would go along with the life force, the current of life moving forward. As you think about your life, and there are times that you should stop and take note of what you are doing and where you are. And this is not stepping out of the stream of life. It is just taking account of yourself so that you are consciously aware and are not just moving through life in blindness, in a hypnotic trance, as most on your plane do. But stop and take a look. Are you moving with the current of life? Are you sitting on the bank watching life go by? Are you making excuses for yourself? Are you thinking guilty thoughts? None of these are necessary. You need not make excuses for yourself. You need not feel guilty about any experience that happens to you. But you need to mark the experiences that go against the grain of life and know when you are in the flow of life and when you're not. Can we pause for a minute and see if you have questions this evening? This is a very interesting class, and it is a very important class. And the main point in this class is continue to walk on. Are there questions that you would ask this evening?
I have a question.
Yes.
I don't know if this is relevant to our discussion tonight, and if it isn't, feel free not to answer it. But we're not supposed to make a judgment about anything, whether it's good or bad. It seems like one of the big issues that comes up in everybody's life is what food is good to eat, what food is not good to eat. It seems like everywhere you look, somebody's saying this is good or this isn't good. And I find myself having a hard time during the day trying to decide, well, what path should I take? What should I eat? Or is that not relevant? If we think the right things, will we be drawn to the right food? Or how does that all play into the...
I will first draw your attention to what the Master said in regards to cleanliness, and it is relevant to your question. He was walking through the fields and thrashing the grain and eating the wheat or some kind of grain, and the publicans rebuked him because he had not washed his hands first. And he made the statement, "It is not important what goeth into the mouth that defiles the body, but it is very important what proceedeth forth from the mouth. This is what defiles the body." And if you use a little of what you call common sense and try to eat a balanced diet and not overindulge in anything, you need not be concerned, too overly concerned. Many who are on the spiritual path try to move towards a vegetarian diet. I am not saying that this is right or it's wrong. If they feel that it is the right thing for them, and it is good for them, then that is their way. I would say that it is not good when you are practicing meditation to eat a heavily meat meal before you come to class or before you meditate. If you eat a large steak and several cups of coffee and so on before you come to class in the evening or before you sit down to meditate, your digestive system is busy digesting this, and it does interfere because your physical, your mental, and your spiritual are all entwined together. Now, let us say that this is not good or bad. I'm just saying, making a suggestion for you to consider and to think about. Try not to be overly concerned about any rule that is laid down on the physical plane, but think of the spiritual truths that you have learned and apply them to your physical living. And each one of you will apply them a little different. Each one of you will live your life different because you are individuals. And what seems to be the best for one is not as good for the other. And we have to use this duality term because it is so entangled in your language that it would almost be impossible to communicate with you without doing it. Have we communicated?
Yes, I think so. Thank you.
Yes.
I was wondering one other thing. Is there a consciousness that, or like they say the race consciousness influences you if you don't make a decision to feel a certain way? The mass consciousness will take you away. Does that pertain to foods that you eat at all?
I'm not sure how you are stating this. Does it pertain to food that you are eating, the mass consciousness?
For instance, some people say that white sugar will cover your pituitary gland and make it so it isn't as effective. You read different things where people make these statements.
Yes, I understand. There are different stages of growth, and there are different belief systems. And whatever stage of growth that you are in, and what belief system that you are having today, does control your life to a certain extent. Now, when you reach a level of consciousness where you have overcome the world, it would not matter if you took poison, the most deadly poison. It would not affect you. Now, do not go out and try this because you have not reached this level. But I am making a comparison. You see, it is your belief system and where you are in your growth that makes the difference. And when you have risen above the world, you will need to eat very little because the food that you get from the higher dimensions, the spiritual food, sustains you so much more than the physical food. You see, as you descended to these lower dimensions, on some dimensions you did not eat at all. And as you came down to the lower dimensions, you felt a lack because you were farther away from the source. And so you started eating, and this became a pattern until it became a race consciousness, as you say. And so it is such a strong belief system that if you do not eat, your body will perish. But on the other hand, when you have overcome the world, you will not need to eat and still can sustain a physical body. But you are not there yet. Is this making sense to you?
For me it is, thank you.
Yes.
For me it is too, but I was wondering if you could go one step further from that. When on this plane, if we get to that, when we get to that point of, will we be actually graduated from this plane and into another one, or are these existences of eating very little possible at this level?
In my talking, I did not mean, I meant that on this plane with this physical body, when you have in consciousness overcome the world, when you have gone through all experiences and passed the test, as you would say, and as the Master did, then you would not need to eat. There are a few people who are in the physical who do not eat. They are doing this to demonstrate this truth that I am speaking of. And there will come a time when, if you so desire, and you have overcome the world, you could sustain your physical body without eating. Or you could eat and eliminate it, and either way. When you come to the final truth, and we're talking about the ultimate truth now, and not degrees in between, whatever you believe is true for you. The Master said, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And this covers the subject. Whatever you believe is true for you, and truly believe it, then it is true for you. Now, you cannot just halfway believe it, or you cannot just read it in a book and say, oh, this sounds good, I think I'll do it. It has to be a state of consciousness, which is a knowing, not just knowledge or knowing about something. You have to truly know it and have mastery over it in consciousness. Is this understandable?
Yes, very much so. Thank you.
Are there other questions this evening?
Yes, I have a roommate that's very aggressive towards me, and I'm kind of like subsided into my room and lost my studio space, and I don't know, what can I do to help alleviate the situation?
Is this a male or female?
Female.
Mm-hmm. Have you learned the art of sending love?
That's about
God's
the only
love.
thing I can do, and that's what I've been
Yes.
working on, because otherwise I just feel poor and I just absorb too much.
Yes. Now let me talk to you about this without giving you a direct answer. I would like to talk around the subject and let you make your own decision. In the first place, we create our own reality. Now, to some this sounds very vague, but you have placed yourself in this situation for a learning experience. Ask yourself, what is it that you need to learn from this experience that you're having? And if you can listen to your higher self or the God within you, you will hear the answer, and you will be able to rise above this. And when this happens to you in consciousness, then the outer physical experience will not be there. Or when you have had this experience and learned from it, you will be able to remove yourself from this individual. But I would say to you, if you wish to grow spiritually through this experience, wait until you have mastered it and are not disturbed by it and are not allowing this individual to override you. And this does not mean that you take up arms or that you are aggressive. It means that you do it in love, divine love. Does this help your understanding?
Yeah, it's pretty much the only thing that's going to help keep my boat afloat. But at the same time, my workspace has kind of shrunk down because of her. Maybe she just needs some time to accept things, you know. My workspace has just really shrunk down, and I feel like if I had more space to do my paintings, it would just be easier on me. But she's been hawking in on me, and I just don't feel like I have the privacy to do larger canvases.
Are you being true to yourself in this situation? Shakespeare said, "This above all, to thine own self be true, and as the night follows the day, thou canst not be untrue to anyone." Are you standing up for yourself?
I don't know. At this point, I think I'm kind of backing off too much.
I would have you to meditate on this and send divine love into the situation and into yourself and into this individual, and do it often and seriously, and listen for the answer, because there is always an answer. You have certain rights, and when you share an apartment or something with someone, then you should have your space, as you call it, to do what you wish. Have you discussed this with her?
She's pretty close to discussion at this point. She is just so angry at me.
Yes.
And she's pretty insecure, unfortunately, on a spiritual level. She can't deal with anything spiritual at all. And I think my work makes her feel very uncomfortable, and she closes it out.
Yeah.
So it's a real sore spot with her.
And is it truly you that she is angry with?
I think she's more uncomfortable with herself than with me.
Yeah.
She's brings up.
I think you are correct. And I feel that if you send enough divine love into this and continue to be loving instead of hostile, that it will work itself out. At least it will work itself out within you, where you feel comfortable no matter what the situation, the outer situation is. When you can feel comfortable within yourself and know that you're being true to yourself, and you can love this individual, then you can remove yourself from the situation and know that you have handled it correctly. But when you run away from a situation such as this, you will find it waiting for you in the next place that you go. If you wish to grow from this, stay in the situation until you have reached a point of consciousness where whatever this individual does is her problem, and you do not accept the anger or the frustration that she has, and you can be at peace within yourself. This is a hard task that I'm asking you to do, but this is the correct procedure to go about handling this in a spiritual way. if you find that you cannot do this, then it may be wise to go ahead and remove yourself and try to work this out another day when you have grown more in consciousness. But if you can stay there and work with it and rise above it, you will be much farther along on the path, and things will work out for you much better. Does this help you?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I just kind of, I kind of knew it intuitively.
Yes, God bless you, my dear one. Are there other questions this evening?
Could you give us some guidelines for staying in the flow?
Yes, this is a very important thing to do, and the title of the subject tonight is Walking On, is one of the most important guidelines. The ability to not stop and worry about this or that or be overly concerned about life is when you can look at this life on this plane truly as is to play on a stage. And it matters not what the experiences that are happening to or around you, but it matters that you see the truth. You see through the illusion of this plane in everything that happens, in every moment of your waking hours, and understand that you need not be disturbed by anything that happens on this plane, even if it is to you. This is asking a great deal of you. For example, the individuals who were in the earthquake in what you call the Bay Area, they had a great opportunity to be frightened and afraid, or to look through this and see it as just a part of the play on the stage. And you see, in order to do this, they would have to understand that there is no such thing as death. And when you really rise above this concept of death and know that life is eternal and that you are an eternal being, then you need not really be concerned about anything. There are many other statements and things that we could say about this. Staying in the flow is remembering who you are, remembering that you are a divine being and that you're not human, that you're playing the role of human, that you're not the body and you're not the mind. You are a spiritual entity that's one with all life, and that God is continually flowing life through you, and the life that he flows through you is God, that he is continually guiding you, whether it's him directly or through his what you call teachers and guides or whatever. It is always God that is doing it. And if you stop to listen, you will be able to hear. And this is one of the most important things, is learn to hear the inner guidance. And this is what meditation is all about. This is what your classes of cleaning out your subconscious mind so that you're not continually concentrating on your problems is all about. When you clean out the garbage in your mind, as you call it, then you can relax and be at peace. Then you can see through the illusions, and you can understand that when others are angry and directing it toward you, it is not you that they're angry at, is themselves. And or any other example like this in life that is directed toward you, it is not what happens, but it's so important how you handle it, and especially when it catches you off guard. That is when you know whether you have passed your true test. when all of a sudden something happens and you immediately can see through this and understand that it is just a play on a stage. It's illusion. It's not really real. And it doesn't make that, it's not that important, shall we say. But it is so important, so very important, how you handle it, how you think about it, how you feel about it, how you react to it. This is staying in the flow. And you have heard this many, many times. But my dear ones, until you practice it in your daily life, until you remember as you rush off to work or whatever you do, until you remember as you go through your day that you're just playing a play and you're playing a role on a stage called Earth, and it's not really important what part you play, but how you play the part. It's not the winning of the race that's important, but how you run the race. Does this help your understanding?
Yes, in my words, would be to stop and take a look at it as if we were looking from the other rounds at what's going on. Then we can more easily understand if we're in the flow or not.
Yes, if you can raise your vision above this physical plane and be more objective about it instead of so subjective, and think of yourself as an experiment, or that is not a very good word to use, but think of it as experience instead of thinking of yourself as a victim. So many people think of themselves as victims. And I tell you, my dear ones, there are no victims, because you do create your own reality. You have brought every situation that happens to you into your life, and you've placed yourself in certain positions. You've done it on purpose to learn from it. And until you learn the lesson, the same experience will continue to happen. Maybe not in this life, but you may have to take it up in another life. Are there other questions this evening? I feel that not enough has been spoken about the subject of walk on, of continuing to move instead of stopping to be concerned or worry or doubtful or fearful, but to move on. Leave the past behind you. Each moment that you live, you are walking out of it the next moment. And whether you move forward in your thoughts and consciousness or not, life is moving forward, and it walks off and leaves you. And when you stop and tarry with so-called problems, worry and concern or guilt, then you are wasting your opportunity to grow spiritually. And that is the only reason that you are on this plane, is to have the opportunity to move higher in consciousness, to move closer to God, and to have a clearer understanding of what life is really all about. And I cannot leave this subject without saying, my dear ones, that love is the key to all things. Divine love, the love that God is. And whenever you treat everything, every experience, with divine love, then you have handled it correctly. You have used that opportunity to move higher in consciousness. And when you think of experiences such as the earthquakes and the people who are caught up in them, this is a tremendous opportunity. and a tremendous experience. And it takes a spiritual giant, you might say, to handle that in a way, in a spiritual understanding of knowing that this isn't important. This is nothing to be afraid of. This is just another experience. And it does not matter if you lose your physical body, because you are not your physical body. When you can go through an experience like that and think those thoughts and feel those feelings, then you will know that you have grown apace. And when you leisure yourself, think in these terms. Are there other questions this evening?
Yeah, I went to a location where I have heard, because there were like a few people that saw spacemen and stuff like that.
Would you speak a little louder, please?
I went to a location where I had heard people speak of seeing beings from outer space, and I had a similar experience. And I don't know if you could pick up anything on that, but I don't know. It just seemed very interesting to me, and I don't know if how you really work, but if you could tell me a little bit of what I saw, I don't know if I need to explain more.
In our group, we have an understanding that we do not give personal readings.
Oh, okay.
But I will comment on the subject matter, if you would like.
Okay.
There are many, many beings from other planets who have come to this planet to help our planet through this new age and through this rapid growth that we're going through. And there are many different experiences that are happening to individuals. And it is difficult sometimes to understand why this experience is happening and that experience is happening. But when you grow to a place in consciousness that you accept that life is everywhere present in the whole of the universe, and that there are many, many planets that are inhabited by intelligent beings such as you, God beings such as you, then you know that all things are possible to those who can believe. There is a great armada of individuals from other planets and even other galaxies who have come to witness your planet in this next 2,000 years and the changes that will come about, and also to help you, each individual connected with this planet. And there are 20-some-odd billion beings connected with this planet directly, and new ones coming in, not too many, but a few coming in to incarnate from other planets and other dimensions. And they are all working with all of you, whether you are in between incarnations or whether you are in the physical body. You have the opportunity, if you so desire, to tune in to these beings from other planets. But I would say to you to have some guidelines that you use. And the guidelines that we have given through the years is that a higher teacher will never tell you exactly what to do. They will give you guidelines. And when someone tells you exactly what to do or something like this, then you might stop and think, is this from the level that I want to hear from? There are many, many dimensions, and the dim and dark realms are closely related to the physical plane. And you reach, when you make contact with other dimensions, you reach whatever level that you are vibrating at, or what level of consciousness that you are on. And when you are not used to this, some of these individuals who are not growing spiritually but are on the dark rounds, they're not evil, they are misguided, and they are just, shall we say, standing on the bank watching the river of life go by and not interested in participating in their soul's growth at this time. And they will lead you astray at times when you do not follow your inner guidance. I am not saying that you have been led astray. Do not misinterpret me. I am just helping you to understand that the teachers from the realms of love and light only give you guidelines. They teach you about love, and they give you spiritual lessons